Watch somebody's phone go off now.
Obviously, last Thursday was a great night for us. I think for the entire program. I think that was probably the most impressive thing for me. It wasn't exactly the way we played. It was the most impressive, but I think for the program, the support, first and foremost, the students, their ability to come out and create an atmosphere, as obviously Chip Kelly, I think, said it. I thought that was the greatest thing about the night. It's just the ability for us to create an atmosphere, create some buzz, show some energy that we have on campus for not just our program, but for everything that's going on. So I thought we could have played a little cleaner, a little better, but I think the great thing we did learn was about ourselves and a little bit of maturity. The things we didn't do a great job, even though we had a good season last year, the things we didn't do a great job of was sometimes playing on the big stage. And I mean that in our ability to handle things when they happen. And some things happen in that game. Defensively, the first touchdown, we blow something and give up a basic 72-yard, almost non-existent play. I wasn't saying that they were looking for it, but it was a complete blow by us. We don't recover, and the guy goes 74 yards or whatever. Came to the sideline, handled it 100 times better than we would have last year. Same thing at halftime or right before half when we throw the pick and Josiah runs the guy down. We come in, there wasn't any heads down, there wasn't anything, any pointing fingers. Like maybe we still had to battle through a lot more last year. So the maturity of things, our ability to handle, especially on a big night and big stages, to handle the ups and the downs and some of those things were probably what I was most proud of, because those were probably the things that were always kind of worried on my mind. I knew we were going to be, have a good team. I knew we were going to go out there and play hard and play fast. Always was going to be, hey, how was this leadership, how will the maturity continue to grow from what we did last year? And I thought we did a really good job of handling those situations. So that was last week. Obviously, it was nice to have a Thursday night game, have a little time. We gave our guys 48 hours off that they didn't get after camp, because it was one of those situations. Normally after camp, I told them you get a 48-hour period. Our guys did. They got 1 day basically off so that we could get rolling into the UCLA prep. Their time off was going to be after that first game. So these guys had 48 hours off, came back in here on Sunday and got rolling for this week. And it'll be an exciting week for us, a great opportunity for us to challenge ourselves and to measure us as players, each and every one of us, but us as a program against the top 5 team. And I think that's where you really, when you start to have things going in your program, you got to find ways of measuring yourself. And this is going to be a great opportunity for us to measure where we are.
Questions?
Go ahead, Clay.
Just curious, Alma, has this kind of been like a Michigan thing at OSU where you would begin preparation back in the spring? I know when you have UCLA, it's not something you can...
Yeah, no, we didn't, and I think that's a unique thing for us, is we can't do anything different than what we really do. We have a rivalry game, it's next week, and I think that'll be really important for us to switch gears. And we talk about it in camp. We talk about rivalry weeks in camp, and I'm going to learn and study about the history of those things. It wasn't about that. It wasn't. It was an opportunity, just like it is. It's an opportunity not just that we're playing Ohio State, but it's an opportunity for us to play a top 5 team, to measure our program, to measure us as individuals, to measure us as an offense, defense, and as units against some of the best. And I think that that's the way we've kind of looked at it. That's the way we'll talk about it today as a football team and a football program. And I think that's the way I want those guys to focus on. It's nothing different than when you play against the very best. It doesn't matter what the name is on their chest. It's not a rivalry game, but it's our opportunity to challenge ourselves and measure ourselves.
You talked about big stages. There's been big wins here before, going to the Sugar Bowl, going undefeated, beating Wisconsin here. If you guys pulled off this upset, it'd be the biggest win in program history probably. Do you want your team to embrace that?
No, I think that when you focus on the process, I think that's when you can't get overwhelmed with the stages of things. I don't know that we did a great job. We talked about that last year. Hey, this is the first time we've ever been on game day. And we go out, I don't think we played very well. Now, not that the kids, that we're all worried about game day and watching game day, but I think that you got to approach it in the right ways. And you still, when the bigger the stages, the bigger the games, the more you got to focus on the little things and the fundamentals and not worry about outcomes and what it will mean. And I think that's where, 18 to 22-year-olds are different. I know it's hard to keep their minds focused in and not drift, but it's the same thing for us as coaches. It's what's going to give us an opportunity to be successful. about what the ramifications are in the long run. If you worry about the destination, if you worry about the outcome, you're probably going to miss a lot of the things along the way. And we got to do a really good job. And hopefully we learn from that. I didn't think we played well in the bowl game at a different stage. And I think that sometimes people talk about, hey, when's the last time we won a bowl game? Okay, so it's more on it as opposed to saying, hey, what do we need to do to be successful? We got to challenge ourselves. We got to continue to move forward. Don't worry about the outcomes and the destination, but focus on the things that we can control.
When you get to a game like this, top 5 team, how much of a belief factor is there that you can go up there and win?
It is, but I mean, we talked about in camp the difference between pressure and stress. And if you look at stress is the #1 killer in our country today. You know, all the different things that have to go on with athletes, especially college football athletes, with anxiety and, you know, I feel this and I mean, there's a million more things because of the stress on college athletes and football players in particular. So we talked about in camp, what's the difference between stress and pressure? Well, there's not that much. Pressure is what we would say makes you better. You don't get better by being in comfortable, easy situations. You get better by pressure situations. So to find what's the difference of stress and pressure, to me it becomes down to a lot of, do you believe in yourself, do you believe in the things that you do, and can you have that kind of confidence to take it from being stressful to just being really good pressure to make you better. And I think that's what we got to focus on. It's not about just believing, it's about, hey, this is a pressure situation, this is how we become better, but in pressure situations you got to have confidence in what you do, and you got to believe in yourself. And if you don't, it doesn't matter whether it's a big stage or a little stage, you're going to use it as stress and you're not going to perform at your best.
You talked a lot about the way 18 to 22-year-olds think and how it might be different. You and some of the staff have some history, obviously, with Ohio State. Do the players care about that at all? Do they know about that at all?
You know what? I haven't asked them. And I think that's one of those things why it has nothing to do with really who we're playing. You know, some people would say, hey, you guys aren't doing interviews this week. Well, it has nothing to do with us playing Ohio State and being, you know, 100 miles down the road. It has to be, this is a big stage. And what I want to do is, you know, not what we did last year in some of those situations, and maybe we got distracted in the UCF game and game day and all that, and say, hey, let's just don't worry about all those things. Let's focus on ourselves. Let's focus on the things we can do, put ourselves in those situations, and not over talk about. So I think the first question, I didn't talk about who we're playing. I talk about it being, hey, this is a great program, a great team, and this is a challenge to us, as opposed to being, you know, an in-state, 100 miles away, things where maybe a lot of our kids grew up as Ohio State fans. You know, try to put all those things aside, don't make a bigger deal about it, but look at it as, hey, this is an opportunity. Would it be as great of a game if they weren't ranked? For some people it still would be, but the reality is, what is it? It's a top 5 team, an opportunity for us to measure ourselves against the best.
You were a first-year special teams coach in 2002. What do you remember about that game?
What do I remember about that game? I'm not sure. I remember maybe a fake punt. I think they had a fake punt on us. If I can remember, that might have been when D'Antonio went there after that. No, okay.
Was it very close?
Might have been the last 3 shots in the end zone.
Yeah, yeah.
The one in Paul Brown Stadium. I was thinking of the one after that.
Yeah. What do you recall about that game?
You know, I recall that they had every opportunity to win the football game. A little young quarterback named Gino Gaduli that, you know, did a really good job at, you know, keeping the defensive linemen chasing and wearing them out a little bit. And all in all, at the end of the game, they had 4 shots or 3 shots in the end zone to possibly win a game. And it was a hard-fought battle.
You don't talk to Gino about that game that much?
I don't think so. I think maybe there was some stuff on Twitter this summer, a few clips of the game. I think I didn't see it, but my son sent it to me, and then I actually had to forward it over to Gino. I can't remember if he was getting sacked or if he actually did something decent, but you know, I was being on the other side. I remember that there was 4 games that came down to the last play of the game, and Cincinnati was one of them.
Yeah. Would you this week at all take any time to remind these guys, show them video of that game to show them what's possible?
I think sometimes if you do that, you're making it like, hey, we got to do something extraordinary to be successful. You know, I think they all understand. I don't know that there's many of them that know a lot of the history, you know, and so today's day and age, these kids, I mean, that was, you know, 16, 17, I don't even know how many years ago. And I don't know, they couldn't tell you a player that was playing in the game probably.
Yeah.
I think the idea of, like I said, of understanding that it's a top 5 team and this is a different opportunity, whether it's Ohio State or Oklahoma or Alabama or Clemson. It's an opportunity for us. It happens to, we don't have to get on a flight. It's only 100 miles away, but an opportunity for us to challenge ourselves and to measure ourselves against the very best.
You touched on this a little bit yesterday, but a lot of these players you recruited or knew, they're coming in there. Someone like Malik Harrison, is that someone you've kept tabs with and watched how he's progressed as a player?
I'm pretty bad at keeping a lot of tabs. And I probably I saw 2 games last year from him, obviously when we were done. Other than that, it's really difficult, to keep tabs on him or to stay in communication with him. But I've obviously followed a little bit of whatever has happened. And there are some guys like Malik that a couple years ago that obviously came down and saw us in the first year. But just like they are, they got a million different things going on. You got 115 new 18 to 22-year-olds that they're counting on you to spend a lot of time with to build relationships. I'm one of those guys that doesn't do a great job at keeping those relationships anyway, so it's been difficult. I haven't done a great job of it.
Coach, you said yesterday at the conference call that you want to make this unemotional when you go back to Ohio State Columbus. Is that something you have to consciously do? How difficult is that for you?
I don't talk about it. I don't know. I haven't been in it. I played back there my first year of coaching when I was at the University of Akron. Obviously a little bit different, but it was just one of those situations. It's like any game. You try to take the emotion out of it. I mean, we play UCLA on a great night here, and to me, one of the big things everybody always says, hey, make sure you stop and look around and enjoy the moment, the atmosphere. And to be honest with you, for me, it's in the moment, it's like try to take the emotion out, do what it is that you do, and be successful and enjoy it afterwards. So being back at your alma mater makes it a little bit more difficult, but only shows you where you are as a coach too. Can you take the emotion out of it and focus on the things you need to do and prepare your guys?
Looking back at Thursday, the tape, Hicks was in there pretty much the whole game, and we talked after the game about some of the ups and downs, but how do you feel like he responded in his first start?
When it comes down to it, can guys make plays when they're there? Was he perfect? Was he perfect? No. I know a lot of people would point out the missed tackle or so, the saving tackle on the long touchdown, or a face mask call on the sideline. But what I can say is, obviously, he had an opportunity to make plays. He made some. He was aggressive in what he did. And a lot of guys were very similar. There's a lot of other guys that were out there for the first time. They just didn't happen to be taking a place of, a guy that we all hold in very, very high esteem, and made some really big plays for us the year before, and we were expecting a lot of things from him. So I think he was thrown in a position that was just focused on a little bit different than a lot of other guys that were maybe getting some of their first real opportunities and starting time.
When you watched Ohio State, Florida Atlantic, did they show much on offense?
I don't know that they had to. I don't know if they did. But it's still similar to what they've done over the last couple of years with Coach Day there. So I don't think you're as curious or, hey, what else do they have in their bag, as opposed to the defense. I think defensively it's really difficult going into a game where you don't really show a whole lot, but you're not really sure with the new coordinator and a new system. A little bit more of, hey, what are they really going to be and do defensively, because they probably didn't have to do a whole lot or didn't do a whole lot, but maybe that's who they'll be too. So I think defensively you're probably a little more curious than you are offensively. As good as they've been over the last few years offensively, how much more can you do, or how much more do you need to do?
Yeah, and then obviously Justin Fields had got off to such a great start. What kind of challenges does somebody like him present?
I think the run-pass option is always a big issue. I mean, when you see a guy throw a deep ball to the field side, you know how strong his arm is. You see him take obviously a first run for however far he had to go, and he did. So all the tools are obviously there, from the deep balls to the field side stuff to the ability to run. So where is he with the whole scheme? I'm sure that's probably the bigger question for us, is do they have everything that they've done over the last 3, 4, 5 years, or do they have a little bit smaller of a package just based on him in his first first game and first year there.
When you first got here, you thought about asking that this game be canceled. How come?
That was a mutual kind of, Coach Meyer and I had kind of said that when we first got in the game, saying, hey, maybe this wouldn't be the best. You know, and it was probably more so just because of the situation and leaving right away. You know, that was never really addressed much after that. You know, in the last, that was 3 years ago, so it was never much addressed after that. I think that was one of those, you know, kind of things in the first few weeks that we, you know, maybe we don't want to do this, but obviously those things are very difficult to do based on schedules and how they're scheduled out and where they're scheduled out, how long in advance they are. So I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at and worried about the schedules. I probably, as I get a little bit further into this, you know, might have a little more of an opinion, but I've probably not once had a meeting with Mike or anybody upstairs about scheduling, because personally, you know, I don't want to take my mind off of, you know, our players, our team, and doing things like that. Now sometimes I step back and tell you, scheduled Arkansas here in a couple of years, it's like, maybe I need to go ask about that. But I also don't feel like, you know, I got the time to talk about it right now, so you know, they line them up, and that's who it is that we got to play.
Luke, have you, have Tenuta or Freeman, or you had a little huddle about going up there, or what it means?
No,
I mean,
really.
you're a 15-year Buckeye, player, coach, played the Rose Bowl with a torn pec.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole bit.
All those.
So how are you going, to follow up on Joe's question, how are you going to divorce yourself of the surroundings?
I tell you what, when you're a competitor, it doesn't really matter. There'll be no feelings. You know, I've said it before, like, you know, if all of a sudden you had the opportunity to play your brother, I mean, yeah, you love him to death and you want nothing but the best for him, but at that moment, you got no love lost for him. And, you know, that's why I say, do you detach your emotions? I think when you compete, you detach your emotions in a lot of things. This is one of them. So, yeah, we've been there, known a lot of things, know what the atmosphere is going to be like. A lot of history, whether it's me, Coach Tenuta, Coach Freeman, but all in all, it's about a game, you know, and it's about these 18 to 22-year-olds that sit in these seats, and you know what you can do for them and how you can prepare them, and how much you can give them to give them the best opportunity to be successful, and how much you don't give them because of you know situations in the atmosphere. So I think it's unique, and you don't want to avoid the question and just say you don't think about it, but the reality is, I think as a competitor, you kind of wipe your emotions away no matter what the situation, and I think that's the only way to be successful in this type of situation in particular.
I asked you in the spring if there was any chance you'd run to the wrong sideline, and that was an emphatic.
Unless I get hit really hard, I don't think that there's the concussion option that would make you go off the wrong sideline, but you know, I'll be close enough that I could take a couple shots, but never had a concussion that bad that would take me to the opposite or enemy side, so I feel pretty confident about that one.
A couple more questions.
You have any injury update on Dokes?
No, he didn't practice yesterday. We ran around a little bit yesterday. Usually after Tuesday's practice, we'll get with the doctors and then we'll sit down and figure out where he is and what the options are for him this week.
So not sure about this weekend yet?
I'm not sure. I don't know just yet. Maybe a miracle will happen. He's running around there tonight. Who knows what he could be by Saturday.
You mentioned some of your kids maybe growing up as Ohio State fans. I know you're trying to separate the two between a game and emotion, but do you think that adds fuel to the fire in some of these guys?
I think it does. I'm not going to lie to you, you know, but I also don't want it to be too emotional, because then there's no greater way of draining your energy as soon as you get started than emotions. And if you're too emotional about it, this is, you know, I've always wanted to play in here, and all of a sudden, bam, your emotions and you're zapped. So I think the ability for us to focus on, hey, this is a top 5 team. You know, whether, like I said, whether it was LSU or Oklahoma, obviously happens to be right here in our state. And let's look at it like that, so you can control your emotions as well, because you're going to need every ounce of energy that you have for this game.
But do you think that's changed, Luke? And I know you've only been here for 3 years, but you're in the rooms and you talk to players when you recruit them. Last week during the Ohio State game, one of the announcers said that everybody at UC dreamed of playing Ohio State. Do you think that's still true? Do you think you've now made UC a dream destination?
Well, that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we want to continue. It takes a while to do that. It's consistency over time. And I think that's where the ups and the downs of the program, meaning, from the very highest of, Coach D'Antonio or Coach Minner or Brian Kelly or Butch Jones or whatever, when it's very high, and then you don't have, you lose a guy. I think that's what makes it difficult to make it a destination, and that's my objective, is to create that over time. That it is, and I'm sure there's a lot of kids like Colin Woodside who dreamed of playing in Nippert Stadium. His dad obviously played here. He came here as a young kid, and his dream was, he was an outside of Columbus kid, but his dream was to play at Nippert Stadium. And it's a lot of how you're brought up and how you grow up. Whether you were just outside Fairfield Union, just outside of Columbus, Ohio, he dreamed of being a Bearcat. Brian Wright is from Delaware. I don't know if he always dreamed of ever playing in Ohio Stadium. I don't think he did. We got some guys from Virginia that probably never dreamed of playing in Ohio Stadium. So it's not different, so to speak, for maybe some guys who grow up in this region. But don't be surprised that there aren't some guys that grew up, and there won't be a lot more in the future that grown up going to games like there was Thursday night, and all of a sudden this is where they want to play, no matter what.
You probably do, though, have your share of guys who might feel somewhat disrespected by Ohio State not being a recruiter, and what I mean?
No, I mean, however you use different things for your own motivation is key. And whether you're an 18 to 22 or a 46-year-old, motivation is a big deal. And but it also can't put you out of doing what it is that you need to do. And when you're not calm enough and in the right frame of mind, it's really hard to be at your best, to react and respond. This game is about reacting and responding. This game is not just about who's going to run the fastest and who's going to be the first guy out of the tunnel, and on that first opening kickoff, who's going to knock whose head off. No, it's a 60-minute game, and we got to do a really good job at controlling the emotions so that we can make this a 60.